The Bible. Is it hard to understand?
When it comes to reading the Bible, the first thing that comes to mind is the fact that this is the Word of God.
The seals have been broken, and the truth is here.
And when we go throughout the scriptures, when we go throughout extra biblical records, we find that the language that God employed, that He used to create the heavens and the earth, was the Hebrew language.
Christ said, I came for the lost sheep of the house of Israel. But yet no one, no religious leader, no religious church out there anywhere can now identify the 12 tribes of Israel. Can we? God is quite simple, but it seems as if man makes understanding Him hard.
What are those mysteries?
The truth of your book and the truth will make you free. The Hebrew and Bible Academy, you're invited.
Hey, oh,
Shalom.
hey. I was on my way, felt the presence of your son every day. Every day, I let go of your hand, and now I feel a change. Close the door, fall to my knees, and I began to pray. Oh, help me, the cares of the world slowly pulling me away. Now I hear a voice calling me to the light, to the light. And still in the heart, so I'll discern wrong from right, wrong from right. No matter forget the road, forget love. Which way should I go? Which way to go? My Father sent His Spirit, help me find, save me. Bible fell on the floor.
Shalom, brothers and sisters. I'm Elder Ricashiar along with Elder Lawyer here. That's right, live for our weekly Sabbath service. Shalom, brothers and sisters throughout the four corners of the earth. All praises be to the Most High, Ahaya Bahashim Yeshaya Warawak. And I would like to say a blessing and send out a prayer to all of our brothers and sisters who are weathering the storm. And I'm going to be talking about that before going into the lesson. All right. Now, before we go into the lesson, that's right. Why are the Bible laws needed in these times? You see the lesson? All right. I would like for you all to do us a favor and hit the like button. Okay, hit the like button for us, which is highly appreciated. All right. Our particular channel is under a shadow ban, which means YouTube will not promote these particular broadcasts and let others know that we're actually going live. Okay. Also, I would like to give you all a reminder that if you are subscribed to the channel and need the updates and notifications and to stay posted with what the church is doing and where the world is going prophetically, if you are subscribed, make sure you go back to the main channel to check that you weren't unsubscribed. All right. So they're doing that too. They're unsubscribing subscribers. All right. They're making it hard for us to actually communicate and join some type of, I would say, connection with those throughout the earth who are following the church. And it's not just the church. They're doing this all together. At one time, if you had YouTube subscribers, there was a way in which you can email them, message them behind the scenes, and connect. Well, that no longer exists on YouTube, all right, where the subscribers can get a direct message from those who hold YouTube pages. So it's upon you to make sure you're reaching out, staying connected, and get notifications. As well as notifications, brothers and sisters, please make sure you subscribe. That's right. Hit the like button, and also hit the bell and tell YouTube that you would like to receive all notifications. All right. Make sure you tell YouTube you would like to receive all notifications. And there's a lot going on in the earth today. So if this work we're doing has impacted your life and you would like to know how to get in contact with us in case things go down, right? Where there's no more internet, no more YouTube, make sure you send us your contact information. gatheringasone@aol.com. Our church will keep you on a database, so if anything happens, somehow we'll be able to reach out to you. If not through phone, if not through the internet, or even snail mail, we'll know where you are, and we'll do some level of correspondence where you can connect with us if something goes down in this earth. Okay, so it's important that we keep this connection beyond the internet. Okay, beyond the internet. All right. It's our position as teachers and elders who were born and actually called to do this work today, to make sure you understand our position as shepherds, to continually reach out to you, let you know what's going on, and how to connect in such a time as this. So that's our position. All right. Elder Lawyer, if we may, before we go into the lesson, what is the lesson on this coming Sunday?
This coming Sunday, we're going to be doing a brand new lesson dealing with the Essenes, the history of the Essenes, along with the history of the priesthood, the sons of Zadok, so on and so forth. And we're going to collaborate that with the lesson dealing with the Ark of the Covenant.
All right, exactly. The priesthood, the mystery of the Essenes, this coming Sunday, have never been taught anywhere on earth. The priesthood, and how at the end the Roman Empire ended up destroying them, but not before the Most High put a spirit on the Essenes to hide certain records. So I'm also going to be going into the prophetic understanding that they've hid for a long time, straight out of the Dead Sea Scrolls. All right, straight out of the Dead Sea Scrolls. So anyone that's claiming that Christ doesn't exist and he was a myth that was made up for modern day ideology and control over people, which is a straight lie. Well, you want to be there tomorrow in the academy, because the Essenes knew of Christ and they wrote information concerning him coming. Also, I'm going to actually go into, that's right, folks, the fact that the Essenes just didn't leave us the information, the sons of Zadok, who are from the bloodline of Aaron, okay, Moses and Aaron, Levites. They didn't just translate. They didn't just give us the Dead Sea Scrolls, folks. They also translated a lot of what we see in the Old Testament and left that there too, which proves the Bible's validity when it comes to what? Its historical value. So people try to claim that man wrote this and it's been tampered with. Well, you can't claim that was tampered with. Why? Because the Essenes, that's right, rescribed the Old Testament and left it so that no man can get to it, including the so-called white man. So that kills that the Bible was written by the white man and all these other lies, other lies that are out there by haters and also Satanists. Keep in mind, folks, there's only two masters. And it doesn't matter how well someone can package their hate. or their anti-Christ views or their anti-God views. If you are against the Bible, you are a Satanist. You are a Satanist. There's nothing in between. There's no spiritualist. There's no I'm spiritual. There's no I'm a Muslim. If you are a Muslim and deny Christ's ministry by trying to minimize Christ's prophetic value as king of the Jews, king of Israel, who will one day rule the earth, you are an antichrist, because with the truth of this Bible, there's no need for Islam. There's no need for the Quran. There's no need for the Gita, the Egyptian book of the dead. And that's what I'm going to be talking about today in this lesson. And guess what? The more this earth defies the God of the Hebrews, the more destruction will come on the lands. And that's right. And on against the Gentile nations. The more you deny our God, the more destruction will hit this earth. And I'm going to be talking about that today. And guess what? When you go into this information, sons of the Dr. Mar, beyond any shadow of doubt, no one can deny that this Bible is the true and the true holy book of God. And folks, this book didn't come from earth, folks. It was written in the heavenly tables. It was written in the heavenly tables, in the heavens, before it was given to man. This book is from heaven. Okay? This book is from heaven. So we're going into the sons of Zadok, the bloodline of Aaron. And why do you think they continually try to keep the Levites down, the Haitians down? You know why they try to keep them down politically? Because they know the Haitians are from the bloodline of Levi. They link directly to the Essenes too, through that family of Levi. So since they cannot contend with Levi, because they really can't, that's right, it was the Haitians, the Levites, on that little half an island that kicked the French's behind. Of course, Levi dubbed into dark forces, and the Most High says stay away from their secrets, but they know that they cannot fight spiritually on the same level as Levi. So they said, you know what? We're just going to wait them out, use political systems against them, and eventually have them kill each other off by starving them out as a country. That's political warfare. Well, we cannot beat them spiritually. Well, what we can do is destroy their economy. We can starve them out to a degree where they'll have to what? Either acquiesce, join the New World Order, or die on the island alone. But guess what? The Most High is for the poor, and he's coming to judge those who are attacking our brothers and sisters, not just in Haiti, but in the Dominican Republic too. Our God is going to judge these nations for turning our people where we live into third world countries only to use us as slaves. And the Most High sit in judgment. So tomorrow we're going to be going into it. The priesthood, the sons of Zadok, we're going to show you Levi on a whole different level tomorrow and let you know that Levi would eventually give the priesthood back to who it belongs to. The high priest after the what? The order of Melchizedek. That's right. The Lord of Lords, Kings of Kings. The priesthood was meant for him and came from him from the beginning. So there was no need for the Essenes once the Christ came on the scene. They did their job. But now the Most High would open it up through Christ for a nation of priests who are willing to do what's right. And then first of all, point out prophecy. Okay? And warn the world, that's right, of what's to come. Dealing with the Most High ceremonies and the priesthood and the service of prophets to warn the world that what? This world we're living in will soon be at its end. We're living in the end of times. Folks, hey, All I have to say is, hey, be there tomorrow for that's right, the Essenes mysteries. We're going into the Dead Sea Scrolls, and we're going to show this like it have never been shown before on the Essenes. Another thing, that the enemy try to do certain things by using the Essenes names, plagiarists, to try to now push their ideologies in witchcraft and science and evil. They came up with some book called The Gospels of the Essenes after the Essenes were already destroyed. That book is a lie. That book outdates the Essenes for about 200 years. So the same time the Nicene Creed was trying to hijack our word, our understanding by actually fusing paganism, that's right, paganism, hiding paganism in their modern day Christianity, they were also putting out plagiarist books, giving them validity by using the righteous names and titles. Most plagiarist information come from Rome. Okay, so you can't trust them. They're liars. All right. Now, before we go in, Elder Lawyer, oh yeah, we have a class for you today. Hit the like button. Before we go in, and I want to see you on that academy tomorrow, folks. And guess what? We got 2 full months. So I know you probably missed a few weeks, but get in that academy. You're missing it. I'm telling you. Also, we're going to have an interview with Elder Fresnel. And we're going to bring in the brother Kazakh from Puerto Rico. We're going to, so they can give their testimony. The Gathering of Christ Church all around from Florida, Puerto Rico, so we can give an updated report on Hurricane Ian. Hurricane Ian and what it's doing, decimating the rich in this earth. Going through and destroying right now. But you know what? Thank the Most High that, you know, the brothers and sisters in Florida are well, and the brothers and sisters in Puerto Rico are well. Okay? We thank the Most High for that. And we're going to give some real live reports because guess what? Prophetically, I'm going to tell you right now, this particular storm is a biblical proportion, and the Bible speaks of storms like this, and I'm going to talk about that before going into the lesson. All right? Let's go. Let's go, Elder Lawyer. Yeah, and if you're interested, real quick, if you're interested in the Hebrew and Bible Academy, there's nothing like this on the earth when it comes to learning the Bible and actually having fun doing so. Getting the knowledge and the understanding, but understanding that you don't have to be intimidated by the book. The book is easy to understand if you're teaching one biblical narrative that was intended from the beginning. The confusion comes in when we're trying to wash ourselves from the lies that come from the Christian church and the Gentile nations who are teaching lies on the book. But in its simplest form, the Bible is really a simple book to understand. And I'm going to bring some clarity to that in this lesson today. Before we do anything, Elder Lawyer, real quick, all right? Let's do the Shema real quick.
Yes,
and I'd like to thank you all for your presence. A lot of you familiar faces here. I'd like to thank you for all your support, you brothers and sisters. And I pray that the Most High bring forth, that's right, revelation and understanding that can sustain us through times such as this, and that the Most High bless your homes throughout the four corners of the earth who are watching this lesson. That he would bless your homes on this Sabbath to get us through the real storm called Jacob's trouble. We pray as elders on this Sabbath that the Most High bring peace and resolve to all of y'all homes. Okay? And that we put down all petty thoughts and all negativity and open our minds to the word of the Almighty today. Okay? Elder Lawyer, the Shema.
Yes, sir. Shema Yasha'Allah Ahaya Allahayanawa Ahaya Akkad.
Shema Yasha'Allah Ahaya Allahayanawa Ahaya Akkad.
Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one.
Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one God. He's the God of all gods. Ahaya is his name. Now, before we go into the lesson, let me just show you a little bit of the footage of what's actually going on over in Florida with Hurricane Ian. Fair use.
Look out here. This is what storm surge looks like. This is, I'm telling you, 15 minutes ago I was on this beach. I was getting ready to talk to you, and I lasted about 40 seconds on the beach.
Look at this, y'all. Look at it. Check it out. I need y'all to see this. More. Devastation. Look at this, folks. Sanibel Island. I need y'all to see this. Fair use. Look at that bridge. Look at that. Talking about multi-million-dollar homes right now, underwater. The storm tossed ships, yachts, like toothpicks. It's up to $40 billion, a ballpark figure on how much going on how much damage that was done there. Now, but it's not going to stop the wicked from benefiting from this as far as financially. Even Rahm Emanuel said, one of Satan's children, that the governments of the earth are not to let a good disaster go to waste. Go to waste. So someone, even on the satanic side, is looking at this as a way to further progress the New World Order and make change. The best time to do it is at a time of disaster. Okay, so with disaster, they can build with new laws, and they can do the change in the midst of the disaster and build it. That's right. It'll transition it right into the direction the New World Order is looking for going forward. That's the benefit the elite has with disasters, because there's no pushback. Or if you want to comply, you must comply with the new technology, the new way we're actually dealing with these cities now that we're able to do so after the storm. You want a tax break? You want this? You want that? You want your insurance? Well, this is a new way we're rebuilding. The same way with so-called virus. The virus, quote unquote, came and they transitioned that's right. They changed the whole corporate structure throughout the earth for employment, everything. The disaster came and they were able to utilize it to transition or progress the whole earth into the New World Order. So if anything, this is going to speed up things when it comes to what? The power structure pressing against the poor and moving their system quickly in place. Quickly. And I'm going to talk about that. We're going to discuss that. So even though these disasters, when you look at the eye of that storm, folks, there's no doubt about it. When you look at the eye of a storm, you're looking at an angel. There's no doubt about that. There's no doubt about that you're looking at an angel in the eye of a storm. Let's read it real quick, Elder Lawyer, on that. Let's go to Isaiah 29.
Yes, sir. Isaiah 29, verse 6.
Yeah.
Thou shalt be visited of the Lord of hosts with thunder.
Thou shalt be visited by the Most High with thunder. Read.
And with earthquake.
And with earthquake.
And great noise.
And great noise.
With storm.
With storm. You see that? Because that just wasn't, folks, a storm operating. You had bridges falling, all of that. The Most High shook the earth. Okay. Read.
With storm and tempest.
And tempest.
And the flame of devouring fire.
And the flame of devouring fire. Stuff on fire. Multi-million-dollar houses last week. People were staying a week ago, 2 weeks in Airbnbs, having nice parties. And just like the days of Noah, disaster, changing lives all at once. And guess what? It's nothing to celebrate. It's nothing. It's not a thing where you have to feel like, well, okay, no one should be glad something like this is happening. This is traumatic. People are suffering. Right? This is not a good thing. It's nothing that people should try to look at and say, and we glad the Most High. No. It's about what do we do when the Most High sends a warning. That's what it's about. It's about understanding that one day there will be a storm and there's going to be tempest and it will be the last day like it was before the flood came. But you know what Esau will do and others will do? They will continue to build like everything was normal, transition this and try to utilize it politically for whatever agendas they're pushing without getting the full message. Without receiving the full message. When the Most High sent angels, tempest, storms, that's a reminder to us, that's right, of what happened before Noah's Ark. What happened? People were being warned. People were being told what not to do. And that leads us into our lesson. Why are the Bible laws needed in such a time as this? Why are they needed? Well, before the flood, Noah was the preacher, warning the people. And it rained. Then it rained. Then it rained. Then it rained. And I see some of these houses. Common sense will tell you where not to build. I'm going to show you how important the Bible is. I'm going to show you how important the Bible is real quick. Let's go to Matthew 7:26. Now, myself, Christ sent the disciples to teach, right? Myself, right now, reading a precept with Christ, could have saved these multi-millionaires and others billions of dollars, even if a storm came. Since they're about money. Common sense will tell you something is wrong with where you're building. If you have to put your house on stilts. If you have to build your house on stilts to defy God's nature, it tells you in of itself that's the wrong place to be. That's the wrong place to build. Now, I know there's nothing like a waterfront view. I know it's nothing more beautiful than a waterfront view. But let me tell you, we're in the month of the trumpet. Every time we deal with September, the month of the trumpet, the Most High sends storms. Even though we're in October now, all September, we know that's storm time. Right? All they had to do was read Christ. And this is what you get for not listening. Matthew 7, Elder Lawyer.
St. Matthew 7, verse number 26.
Read.
And everyone that heareth these sayings of mine,
Everyone that heareth the sayings of Christ, mine, that's what he says, mine, read.
and doeth them, shall be likened unto a foolish man, which built his house upon the sand.
If everyone that heareth these sayings of mine and doeth them not, you ignore Christ's word. It's just like a fool who buildeth his house upon the sand. Only thing they had to do was read the Bible and say, you know what? I'm not going to put my house on stilts. This is defying God itself. And when the angels come, guess what? My house will become what? Trash. It will be rolled on the water and rolled over. That's right. After getting caught in the eye of the storm. So there's nothing like a waterfront view, of course. But there's ways of viewing that and still get that same view without getting caught up under it. You're not supposed to build a house on sand. Sand moves. And the Most High then have given the border of what you would call the shores a command to stop the waters. It tells you that the Most High have given the sands commandments, or the border commandment, to tell the water to stop. But guess what? You see what happens when you go to the beach? The water comes up past those lines and it go back. So all they had to do was follow Christ. See, this is what happens when you're living in an anti-Christ world. It's like they're trying to claim that they're going to build the Titanic, the unsinkable ship, tempting God. And Christ, the Most High says, you can build, but I'm going to throw down. I'll throw down. And that leads us to our lesson. Anything else you got there, Elder Lawyer?
No, sir, just reading here.
Yes.
And everyone that heareth these sayings of mine and doeth them not shall be likened unto a foolish man, which built his house upon the sand.
Come on.
And the rain descended, and the floods came, and the winds blew and beat upon that house, and it fell, and great was the fall of it.
And great was the fall of it. See, but if you build on Christ, if you listen to Christ and follow Christ, it's like one who have built their house on what? Let's read it.
Verse number 24.
Come on.
Therefore, whosoever heareth these sayings of mine and doeth them, I will liken him unto a wise man which built his house upon a rock.
A wise man makes sure you build house on bedrock. See? Because rock strengthens the structure from its foundation. See? If you build on rock and you use steel, the steel is reinforced. See? Now, I'm only talking common sense here. He says, if you follow my word, it's like you build your house on rock. Because guess what? It doesn't matter sand or rock. The storm is going to come. But who'll stand after the storm is gone is the question. So this also talks about the trials of life. If you build your foundation, your doctrine, your life on rock, the storms are going to come. Mm-hmm. The attacks are going to come. You may lose many things. You may get attacked and all that, but once the storm comes, you're still standing. You're right there. I'm like, okay, what's next? Let's go. But if you build your doctrine on a shoddy, sandy foundation, when the storm comes, guess what? It takes your whole doctrine and your belief system away, the same way the storm took those homes away. Same way. If you have a doctrine that isn't founded on Christ's doctrine, when people come with certain questions and pick and poke holes all in it, eventually the storm, it's just like building on sand. Just like building on sand. And when now questions come, well, listen, we just don't deal with that. But really, it's Christ tearing it down because you don't have an answer for it. Okay, so why aren't you baptizing when Christ got baptized? That's the beginning foundation. Christ did that before all the great miracles. Baptism is the word. And you have somebody be like, okay, sand. You build it on sand. Baptism is the law. Wrong answer. Sand. The Pharisees had the law. Christ came with baptism. And see, I need to get that saying from John real quick. When they ask Christ a question, when he says, the baptism of John. was from man or heaven? Let's get that real quick. Let's get Matthew 21. I'm going to show you because the Pharisees, as an example of when you build a doctrine, and I'm going to show you how this ties all together. When you build a doctrine on sand, like those houses were built on sand. Christ, the first point of foundation for the ministry to get in Christ's kingdom is repentance and cleansing, which is the renewing of your mind after baptism, reflecting back on your past sins to have your sins cleansed by the priest. Now, folks, what y'all don't realize, I'm going to be talking about this more tomorrow, John the Baptist wasn't from Judah. John the Baptist was a Levite. So he was performing a priesthood washing to show the new path for Israel's kingdom. It would no longer be through the traditions of strictly the physical law. See? And this is why, that's right, no one can say that following the law is baptism. That's nonsense. The baptism is a public proclamation with the Most High witnessing. You before man, confessing your faults, putting down your sin against the law, to have entry into Christ's kingdom. That's the beginning of the foundation. Anything else is sand. And so the Pharisees and scribes who didn't believe God's law, for real, because if you believed the law, you'd have believed in his son. They were using, I believe in the law, to try to weaponize the law against the true minister, against the true preacher. They were weaponizing the law. They didn't really believe the law, because if you believe the law, you would accept what Christ did. You would accept his son. So they came and asked Christ a question. I'm going to show y'all this just as an example. And I'm just paralleling this with the storm between someone who builds a foundation on sand or rock. They're going to ask Christ a question. Let's get the question first, Elder Lawyer.
Yes, sir. St. Matthew 21, verse number 23.
Yeah.
And when he was come into the temple, the chief priests and the elders of the people came unto him as he was teaching, and said, By what authority doest thou these things?
Now, brothers and sisters, these are chief priests. They know the law. So they came to Christ and says, by who authority you do these things? You know, Christ was doing many miracles, right? Now, if they knew the law in the Bible, they would have known through who authority Christ's work was being done through. They would have known that. Everything Christ did was prophesied out of the Old Testament to the letter. He fulfilled the whole action of the Messiah that would come. If there's only two masters, what are they really asking? By what authority? Oh, not your authority, Pharisee or scribe, because Rome has given you your authority. You a lapdog for Rome. That's all you are. So, they're coming with the credentials that come through Roman politics to question the Son of Man, right? By what authority do you do all these things? As if you had to come through them. And that's another thing. You have to watch people out there who claiming that you got to come through them. No. You have to come through Christ. Okay? The only thing we can do as ministers is lay the foundation and give a choice for brothers and sisters to walk on it. And that foundation is laid through Christ. It's not laid through an organization. By what authority you do this? What camp you belong to? Or what school you came out of? Carnal. Right? So they asked Christ, by what authority is this done? Read.
And who gave thee this authority?
Who gave you this authority? And how did Christ answer, Elder Lawyer?
24. And Yeshua answered and said unto them, I also will ask you one thing, which if ye tell me, I will likewise tell you by what authority I do these things.
I'll ask you a question. And if you answer this, I'll tell you who have given me the authority. Now check out the question, folks, because these are those who believe the law. They have authority already. They have the knowledge of the Torah, the Tanakh. They're upholding the laws in the land of Judea and have what? Much reputation and authority amongst our people. Right? Mm-hmm. So Christ says, I'll answer your question if you answer mine. Check out the question, folks.
The baptism of John.
He went right to the baptism of John. Why? Because the baptism of John was the prophecy of the spirit of Elijah in the wilderness leading the way for the Messiah. If they knew the law, then they would have what? They would have known the authority. From whence they would have known exactly where Christ received the authority. Because it was prophesied that John, like Elijah, would lead the way for the one. And through that, a new path would be laid. That's right. A new foundation established on earth to receive a kingdom. See? So he says the baptism of John. That was the foundation, the first thing Christ did. So how do you know Antichrist, folks? When they try to jump around baptism. That means they don't have a foundation outside of just going to the law. Well, that's not the foundation anymore. The Pharisees had the law. You must understand more. You don't even understand the law if you don't understand baptism. And I'm going to prove that. Read it.
The baptism of John.
The baptism of John.
Whence was it?
Whence was it?
From heaven or of men?
Look at that. Christ said the baptism. Was that from heaven? Or was that from man? Because you have others who try to claim that baptism came from John the Baptist. Mm-hmm. So Christ is putting it out there now. The baptism. Is that from heaven? Because if they say it's from heaven, then the audience will ask them, well, if the Most High sent John to baptize his son, why aren't you doing it? So they would have to, either it's from God or Satan. There's only two masters. It's either from heaven or from the God of this world. There's only two masters, right? So they must look and say, well, okay. So Christ said, I'll answer your question. You answer mine. The baptism of John, was that from heaven or from man? Now, if someone tell you the baptism is from man, automatically you would know right now that they are Satanist. There's only two masters. So let's see how they answered this. Christ put them in a little pickle here. Because they're the ones that started confronting Christ before all the people. Right? To try to shame him or try to show him up. Christ says, let's get to the foundation of this. Right? John, he warned you and told you to be baptized. Was that God telling you that? Or was that John? We're going to slow walk this real quick. Read.
And they reasoned with themselves, saying,
So they wouldn't huddle. They wouldn't huddle amongst themselves. Go on.
If we shall say from heaven,
If we say from heaven,
he will say unto us, why did ye not then believe him?
why didn't you follow him? Because he was prophesied to be the one in the spirit of Elijah who would lead the way for the Messiah. So they know the Bible now. If we say from heaven, he's going to come back and say, well, what are you questioning me for? You should be on the side with me, healing, saving our people. But you're just here questioning me. Because if you believe that John's ministry is from heaven, then you know I'm the one who was sent. See, their pride wouldn't allow them to admit that they were on the wrong path. Their pride wouldn't allow them to. So they started huddling up amongst themselves. I'm giving you an example of one can have much knowledge, but without a foundation from heaven. And when the storm comes, you'll have to do what? Precept gymnastics to get around. That's right. You denying Christ's path. Now, finish reading.
But if we shall say of men, we fear the people, for all hold John as a prophet.
Read it again.
But if we shall say of men,
if we say that it's John made it up,
we fear the people.
We fear the people because the people know that John was a righteous man. Read.
For all hold John as a prophet.
For all hold John as a prophet. And John, in the spirit of Elijah, was prophesied to do what? To lead the way to the Messiah. And it was shown as an example before the world when he said, listen, John, you must put me in the water because it's between us to fulfill all righteousness. We need to build this foundation for a new path for Israel to receive the promises of Abraham. That's building a foundation on stone. Right? Because you have to, before you start talking about the law and everything else, right? A person must come with a certain level of humility and contrition to realize that that we've walked in darkness and sinned against our God. So the foundation is to first admit our own wrong and evil and sin and ask for forgiveness. That's what the baptism is. And then through the renewing of your mind, now you have a clean conscience towards God. You can now build on that clean conscience without guilt by applying God's law. In the spirit, it was intended when it was given. See? Because you don't have to deal with the guilt now. If you're not cleansed, when you go into the law and see the things, and now you're relating some of the wrong things you're doing in the law to yourself, you what? You begin what? To become guilty. If you just go into the law without baptism, you're looking at all the things you're doing wrong, and now you're feeling less about yourself. See? So the law accuses you. The law makes you guilty. Because what? You don't feel that there's any what? That there's any forgiveness for what you're reading See, but if you're baptized, you can read the things you used to do, and now you can appreciate the grace. You can appreciate Christ. Because now you're saying, listen, I'm not guilty. Through the baptism, those things, those sins have been cleansed. But if you just get the law, and because here it is, okay, don't receive baptism, right? And just follow the law. Just follow the law, right? You're still guilty. Mm-hmm. You're still guilty. Because you're going to find something in the law that you're doing wrong. You're still guilty. But if I went, listen, now, but if I was baptized, I'm cleansed for the things that I know I did wrong and some of the sins I haven't found out about yet that I'm doing. I'm clean. See? That means you got to go through the law and try to find every place you're doing sin and hope you found everything. Hope you shine a light on everything where we were shaped in iniquity. Now I'm going to show you all this. Now I'm giving you this understanding so you can understand the power of grace on a whole nother level. And this is what Paul was teaching. So this is why I had to start there with, why are the Bible laws important? Yes, they're important. But you have to have a clean conscience first. Or the same law will accuse you. And you'll feel too guilty or dark to feel that you won't even feel worthy to stand up and tell other people they should follow the law. Because you're guilty. Because we're guilty. See? This is why Christ, he was a master in asking the right questions at the right time. He was able to get to the base of these guys and say, well, listen, I'll answer any, because you're going to always come with questions because what? You are against me. So I'm not even going to make it between you and I. Christ said, listen, let's talk about John real quick. The baptism. Was that from heaven or man? Because you cannot do precept gymnastics through that anymore. Because you know John was from heaven and what he did was from heaven, but yet you still deny it. So don't try to accuse me according to the law when John was sent to free you from the guilt of it and you denied it. You don't have no questions for me. Okay? That's what Christ is saying. You don't have no questions because you're guilty. I gave you a way to cleanse yourself and apply the law and righteousness, and you denied it. But yet you claim that something is wrong with this side? See? All right. See, Christ is king. He didn't have to go back and forth with those guys because they were guilty speaking to him. Right. They were guilty. And trying to have some type of spiritual spar with him to say, well, I'm following the law. What about you? Like, I don't got to answer y'all questions. You're guilty. You're foolish. You build your doctrine on sand. Now, all right. Now, let's go into it now. Now, this is not to say the law isn't important. This is not to say that. But there's levels to it. There's levels. Okay? There's levels in understanding the law. And where grace applies and why grace applies. See? So now, the question remains, right? Why are the Bible laws needed in these times? Why do we need them? Well, it goes back to what? A foundation. A foundation is what's functional. See? With the foundation, you're building on stone. You're building on rock. That's what's functional. Right? So it gives us a standard for life. Family, tradition, ceremonial, how we interact with one another. The moral function that allows life and not death. Right? You pull the law out from up under us, and you have what? Dysfunction. So at least with the law, it gives us a starting point to what's morally right or wrong in every area of our lives. That's the important, because we must know where it's functional, what was intended, where all people in earth, doesn't matter who you are, if you operate under the law, it's beneficial. Everyone can benefit from what's functional. See? I can give you some examples. If we're living a life according to God's law in each country, right? Moral, civil, dietary, ceremonial, where we're all following the Sabbath at the same times. Everyone is following the 10 Commandments. Right? And we're doing no laws unto death. There will be no purpose for war. Because you would have people offending one another, stealing from each other, killing one another, believing in different gods. It's through conflict, dysfunction, that leads to warfare. Someone is stepping out with someone else's wife. That's a war. A man is looking to do what? Bring forth a judgment unto death. War. So, going into this, when it says, why are the Bible laws needed in such a time as this? You know why? Because dysfunction has become normalized. And dysfunction leads to death. No one knows the core foundation for a functional life. It isn't taught. Right? So the law gives us what? A foundation to function with. And through this function, it's a benefit that we can live our lives out as was intended. Right? Family. Living long lives because there's no death, because we're not doing things unto death following God's law. I'm going to show you today, it's not going to take too long, why the law is so important. If brothers and sisters out there claiming they want what's right in this earth, if they're always complaining about what this country is doing, what that country is doing, what the white man is doing, what this man is doing, guess what? There's no need to complain if we begin to set the standard according to God's law. How to function. And by doing so, you shine a light on all these people who are really doing what? Lying to the people. Claiming they want what's right for our communities. They want to make sure they stand, and we need to stand as black people against injustice and all these things. They can't hide no more claiming to be one of us. See? They can't hide no more having the same color as us or living in the same neighborhoods as us. Well, no. We're not going to say the white man is the enemy. You're the enemy because you're not willing to come together and operate with what's functional. Because if we had a functional community according to God's law, there would be no need to complain about anybody, including white people. If someone is dealing with perversion against the law, there will be no opportunity for them to come in and circumvent us. Because our lifestyle will keep them on the outside. Period. Their lifestyles against what's functional wouldn't allow them to come in and circumvent us because they have the same color as us. Right? And this is why I can't stand that satanic, stinking, conscious community. Because they come with stuff like, well, the Bible comes from the laws of Ma'at. So shouldn't we stop all of these broadcasts and you put up, and you now give us the law of Ma'at so that we can get ourselves together in our community then? You only use it as an argument against the Bible. But yet you're not even following the laws you claim the Bible came from. Hypocrite. You're just trying to have an argument to why you don't want to follow what's functional. If the laws of Ma'at was the way, the only time you bring it up is to say that we shouldn't follow the Bible. But I don't see the laws of Ma'at being taught in our communities that stopping murder, incest, molestation, destruction, thievery, and usually it's y'all people like from the conscious community executing all the evils against our people. Being predators on those who believe in Christ or in the church because you feel that they are naive. That's right. You feel they're naive because they believe in Christ, and because you are street hustlers, you're using them as prey. Let's go. Let's go. Let's first start, Elder Lawyer. Let's start with what happened before the flood. Let's go to as in the days of Noah.
St. Matthew chapter 24, verse number 37.
Come on.
But as the days of Noah were, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be.
As the days of Noah, there shall the coming of the Son of Man be. The real storm coming. The last storm coming. Read.
For as in the days that were before the flood, they were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage, until the day that Noah entered into the ark.
Come on.
And knew not until the flood came and took them all away.
Didn't realize it until the flood came and took them away. Now, obviously, there was some dysfunction going on before the flood. So let's go to the book of Josephus real quick, Elder Lawyer. Josephus. And I need you to, now let's go into some of the chaos that began with the first city of Cain. Now, Cain married his sister Awan. That's written in the book of Jubilees, the secrets of the times. All right, so that's another thing. No more guessing and teaching by process of eliminations. There was no people before Adam and Eve. Zero. Okay? Adam was the first man. Eve was the first woman. Adam and Eve had sons and daughters outside of Cain and Abel. Okay? So no more philosophy coming with the Adamite doctrine of some people Adam came through and all this other stuff that no one can prove. If someone tried to claim there was people before Adam, you ask them, okay, listen, we're not going to even go into those people. We're not even going to go, because that's too confusing, right? I'm not even going to go into the long line of people that led to the birth of Adam and Eve. Who was Adam and Eve's father and mother, and who was Eve's father and mother? That's 4 people. Okay? A direct family line without going into all these Adamite philosophies. Give me Adam's mother and father, and give me Eve's mother and father. So they teach by process of elimination. Hey, it must have been other people. Cain went and got a wife, and we don't see no other people, so by default, he must have got a wife from the other people. That's that nonsense that are out there. Does that make any sense to y'all folks? What it says Cain and Abel, it must have been other people. Well, in Genesis, the 5th chapter, it tell you Adam and Eve had sons and daughters. Genesis 5 and 4 all the way down. It breaks it down right there. The only reason it goes into Cain and Abel is because these are the 2 children that would bring forth and operate in the earth with what the Most High showed Adam and Eve and the serpent through the curse. One would have a bloodline for righteous, and another would have a bloodline against the righteous. This is why those stories are highlighted with Cain and Abel. It doesn't mean they were the only 2 children of Adam and Eve. Matter of fact, let's read that real quick, Elder Lawyer. Genesis, the 5th chapter.
Genesis 5, verse number 4.
Read.
In the days of Adam, after he had begotten Seth, were 800 years.
Read.
And he begot sons and daughters.
And he begot what?
Sons and daughters.
And he begot what?
Sons and daughters.
See, a lot of you, if you was in the academy, y'all would already know this. We break it down, the genealogies, the lines, all the information that the Bible refers to. That's why I'm going to tell you. I keep on telling you. Because if you don't have the information, if you don't got the knowledge and can sit down with it from a school vantage point, you'll get caught up in these philosophies. And you have these great teachers out there who know precepts and all that, and will sit there and tell you, there was Adamites in the land before Adam and Eve, and and Cain must have married a daughter from these people that no one knows about. Eloquent teachers. So you have to be careful out there, because the doctrine isn't built on rock. You can't teach the Bible through process of eliminations. Through thy precepts thy get understanding. Therefore I hate every false way, saith the Lord. Which means there should be a precept to prove that the woman Cain married came from some families before Adam and Eve. I know we go to school on the first day, which is the academy, but we're gonna do a little school today. So what was going on during the times of Noah, elder and lawyer, that led to the storm? Let's go into Josephus. Let them know chapter and verse where you are.
Yes, sir.
A little history here, pre-flood history.
Yes, sir. Antiquities of the Jews, book 1, verse number 60. And
do us a favor, folks. Hit that like button, please. Just a few more. Just hit the like button. Doesn't cost you anything to do so, okay? Please. We're about to go in. Help us out here. Just hit the like button real quick. All right, let's go.
And when Cain had traveled over many countries, he with his wife built a city named Nod, which is a place so called, and there he settled his abode.
He settled his abode. Read.
Where also he had children. However, he did not accept of his punishment in order to amend it, but to increase his wickedness. For he only aimed to procure everything that was for his own bodily pleasure.
So he only did what? He only worked to procure things for his own bodily pleasure. Selfishness. What we would call today the American way on how to capitalize off of other people. See, that's what Cain was about. Folks, this system that we're talking about, we're living under now, that they can now progress through social engineering that's folding in of itself, is the same system that was set up under Cain. See? Set up under Cain. Read.
For he only aimed to procure everything that was for his own bodily pleasure.
It's about my house. It's about what I do. Just like you have people, sorcery, selling drugs, doing all types of evil things in the neighborhoods and say, well, listen, I got to eat. I got to take care of my house. I mean, if I didn't sell it, somebody else would be selling it. I didn't make them do this. Mm-hmm. That whole mentality came from the city of Cain. Well, don't you know if you do this, that one day it will be your son or daughter strung out on the same crap you're selling. Ain't no such thing as I'm doing this for my house. And now by the time your child raise up and grow up in that same neighborhood, now you got someone next door with your mentality that string your daughter out, your sons out. There's no such thing as doing something strictly for your house that won't affect generations to come, your own. Because it's being done within a vacuum. It's being done within just a community. It's not like these people are wandering off to go someplace else. So whatever you do in your community will come back in your community. See? And I'm going to show you why the Most High had to destroy the earth through a flood. Lawlessness that started with selfishness. As long as my house is good, as long as my children are taken care of, it's all good. Well, guess what? Well, if it's just about your children and you got the have and have nots, guess what? The people that you're capitalizing off of will be a threat to you now because they're going to come to try to take what you have. If it's just about your house. And then the community or the world spiral out of control. That's what happens. If you got and others don't, for the sake of survival, the innate ability that all mankind has to survive will now come to do what? To create warfare. Because it's not about you making sure everyone has a little something. That spirit came from Cain. Tell me that's not the American way. I'm going to show you why the laws of God is needed today. It was Cain that came up with this system. Read.
For he only aimed to procure everything that was for his own bodily pleasure.
For his own bodily pleasure.
Though it obliged him to be injurious to his neighbors.
It obliged him to become injurious to his neighbor. Now, why become injurious? If you can cause issues, then now you must come to him for security. You have to fear someone breaking into your home, or you have to fear someone doing this or harming your children. And by default, Cain being the head political position at that time under Satan will cause issues so that you would come back to him for the insurance. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry, your house got broken into? Oh, don't worry about it. I got some guys who's working under my army. They can secure your home or your area for a certain amount of money per year. You want security? The mob way, folks, came from Cain. Causing injury, causing all that so that there will be a need for what? For safety, for protection from the same guy who caused the issues. See? Come on.
He augmented his household with substance and much wealth. By plunder and violence, he urged his followers to procure pleasures and spoils by robbery and became a great leader of men into wicked courses.
Go ahead, read that last piece again.
He augmented his household substance with much wealth by plunder and violence.
With much wealth by plunder and violence. This is how these nations we see today, that's right, these Western world nations, that's how they become so great. Through plundering and what?
And violence.
And violence. All of these countries were built on plundering and violence. And these are the same people today after destroying and taking everything they've taken, are now claiming that they should be tough on crime. Every few years, they're talking about crime, jail, this, that, and the other. The greatest criminals. Read.
He augmented his household with much wealth by plunder and violence.
Come on.
He urged his followers to procure pleasures and spoils by robbery, and became a great leader of men into wicked courses.
And became a great leader of men into wicked courses. What else did he do? Read.
He also introduced a change in that way of simplicity wherein men lived before, and was the author of measures and weights.
He was an author of measures and weight, putting a price on everything. Products. Putting a price on everything. Instead of people freely growing and doing what they wanted to do, well, no. He would put a gate around things and say, through weights and measures, if you give me this, you can get that. That's right, folks. He became the first. That's right. Federal Bureau. To put a price on everything, to control people. Right? That's right. He can create scarcity and also that's right. Jack up the prices through artificial scarcity. And now we got to do all this work to get something for a higher price, even though it's cheap. See? The money exchange system as we see today, that can be weaponized against citizens, the people of the world, was created during his time. The same way, out of nowhere, people were paying almost $7 a gallon for gas, for petrol in America. And then what happens? Once they realized it was going to affect the voting through midterms, all of a sudden, the prices go down overnight. Just a way to squeeze people, a political squeeze on the people without them knowing that's right. Governmental warfare is on the people. That's how they squeeze you. They go up in gas, and now the money you have that you work hard for, 2-3 jobs, isn't worth the same. And so now you have to go out and do other things. Plunder. Fever, compromise your own bodies, these women, just to make sure that they have gas in their car. And you don't see that it's a systematic working of numbers that they're doing on people to make it where what you have isn't doing what it used to do financially. They can pull the strings financially. Folks, everything I'm saying right now came from Cain. This is why the Most High destroyed the earth. He made the earth for us to be able to enjoy, and yet this guy come up with a system that you have to pay him to be happy. You have to pay him for security. You have to pay him to enjoy an earth where now everything in the earth that's produced really comes from nature. Rain comes, and guess what? Fruits, vegetables, all of those things, the Most High animals, the earth take care of itself. And all of us should be able to enjoy it equally. So I'm going to show you why the law is important today. Right? Because if you're living in a system where now you're forced to compromise your morality just to survive, you begin to forget God. And a matter of fact, some would even turn from God under such circumstances, suffering in an earth that we start programming ourselves to believe that God is allowing and God is behind it. See? When it wasn't meant this way. The systems were put in place to have us oppressed, and Satan knew with this certain system, we'd be so busy trying to survive, we would forget our position with our God. Life would be no more pleasing the Most High, doing what's right, being satisfied with just what we have and enjoying family. Life would become what? Oppression, trying to survive. And now through these actions and how we view things, Satan would begin to use these same people as servants for him against what's right. Against what's right. See? I need y'all to check this out, folks. And this is why I'm dropping today why the law is so important. Because it gives us a balance. It gets us back to the foundation God intended so that we can view this world how it is without getting caught up in it. And now through those lenses, starting with God first, we begin to live a better life and still receive the blessings without getting caught up into what? The entanglement and confusion that's done on purpose to keep us confused and to keep us oppressed. Finish reading, Elder Lawyer.
Yes, sir. He also introduced a change in that way of simplicity wherein men lived before, and was the author of measures and weights.
He was the author of measures and weight. He set up the first financial system. Now, eventually, Satan would want this set up to eventually put people in debt. If you're in debt, you become a perpetual servant. I know they cleaned that up in our current society, and there's nothing wrong with working to get to where you need to go. But they changed it from servitude or servants or slaves to employees. That was a PR move. Why? Because it sounds what? More voluntary than it is you serving a master. That was a PR move. That was a PR move to turn it from servant to employee. But there's always been servants in the Bible, even voluntary servitude, so that you can build yourself up, and once you get what you need to get, boom, you can have your own life, your own lifestyle. Like Eleazar was a servant in Abraham's house. But he became rich under Eleazar. And some people decided, listen, I'm going to continue to work in the house because by doing this, I'm becoming rich too. So servitude isn't also always some bad term. What we went through so horrendous is that this slavery was against the laws of God. And you're not supposed to keep a person under servitude past 7 years without having them go out and be able to make something of themselves from what was produced during the time they served. See? There was a law when it comes to an agreement. Oh man, you got a good business? Sure, I'll work under your business. I'll do whatever you need me to do. But I need to know within 7 years, I get enough out of this so that I can get my own. So we had the law of Jubilee, where it was impossible under God's law to keep a person under employment or servitude or slavery for the rest of their lives. That's wrong. But Satan and the synagogue of Satan came up with a new plan. Let's find a way of making people believe that they're not servants. They're not slaves. And let's put them under debt where they're voluntarily staying under us. Therefore, we're not accused under the Torah. That's right. We're not accused under the Torah breaking the rule of Jubilee. We don't have to set them free and let them do their own because they're voluntarily staying. They're voluntarily in debt and they're voluntarily staying at the job. Therefore, according to the Torah, hey, they are in agreement. I need to keep them in debt and keep them in employment without them ever thinking that it's wrong. It's wrong to work someplace so long and not have a piece of that business to go on your own to make right for your family. See? See, these are the pieces that no one is telling you when it comes to the law of God. And while people are attacking the Bible, really, if we instituted some of these rules amongst ourselves, we as a people would begin to grow beyond our current status. We would know that when some politician come to our neighborhood peddling jobs, that's not good enough. No, you didn't tell me how us working at your job transfers to me no longer having to work under you. How we can have our own jobs so that our families, our children, not having to go to college, can have some level of an apprenticeship to grow under so that we can have what? Generational wealth from one generation to the next. So we don't need to hear about jobs. We need to hear about how working there gives us a peace to a degree that we no longer need you. Folks, what I'm talking about is in the Bible. It's in God's law. But you have so many people trying to attack the Bible, they don't see that what's beneficial in it for us. I'm talking about a fix that was in place from the beginning. We're not supposed to be in debt. Christ says, forgive our debt as we forgive our debtors. Well, what does that mean? And that's why Christians better read that Old Testament. Christ knew that according to the law, man is not supposed to be in debt or owe anyone anything. That after 7 years, you're free from debt. Because this is how debt puts people in servitude or slavery. And then on top of that, it gives a realization, it gives people a real life barometer on what they can actually get or cannot get. It shows you where you are truly. And I need y'all to think about that. If I got to get credit to get something, can I really afford that? But if I don't have credit, I really understand the position I'm really in and will work my way and become better for it. If you can get something without actually working for it, that takes away the experience to become better. That's a system they set up. But if you can work and be able to say, here's the cash for this, right? You went through the life experiences to get you to that point. And now you're free. Not only with what you purchased, you also have the experience now to grow beyond servant. Everything I'm telling you, folks, is in God's law. It's what makes it, with the law, it can make a poor man rich overnight. Because you know where you are. So you become disciplined and say, I'm not going to get that car. I can't afford that car. But I'm going to get this car. It's not as shiny, it's not as great, but I can afford this. And that gives me what? Room to grow without being in debt with someone, under someone. He's my master. Now I got to look out the window because I just lost my job and wonder if someone is going to come pick up my car. See? How do a poor man get rich? With discipline. He understands where he is because it's not credit, it's what you can afford, and you grow and grow and grow to that point and get the experience. And then if you want to use debt or whatever the case is, in a system, you know how to operate with it. That's right. To benefit you. It's all in the law, knowing that what? Owing someone is temporal. But guess what? Only a certain people in this earth right now exercise what I'm talking about right now. And the only reason they're able to exercise it, because they're the only ones willing to say that the Torah and the Tanakh belongs to God. And it's your fault for not following it. Right? Then yeah. And I'm saying this because I can use the conscious community as an example. They're always talking about our community, what the white man is doing, this, that, and the other, and all that. And then they try to go against the Bible. And the Bible is the solution to get from under all you're complaining about. It's a solution. Unless you just want, or maybe complaining and race hustling is a part of your con. Because if it's about solution, the Hebrews, the Israelites, those out there have been teaching about why don't we first agree with each other on what's functional, what's lawful at least. So it can't be, you know why? Because they know that they're breaking God's law too. That's another thing. They want to get high. They want to be able to do things outside of what they deem the rules for following the book. But I digress. That's low hanging right there. Let's just go right here. When I say low hanging, there's low hanging fruit. Everybody know who was the swindlers and all that in our neighborhoods coming up. I'm from North Philadelphia. Okay, straight up. I was raised in North Philadelphia and I seen it all. I seen cats in the conscious community always with a Farrakhan tape on the same time, Farrakhan tape on the corners, and then somebody come up and ask them, hey man, you got that nickel bag? Would you want 2 or 3 of them? Hustling our neighborhood. Same time they teaching consciousness, they're peddling the devil's poison. I seen it. Like, man, and then after selling it, come back to you, brother, you got to raise your consciousness. And their greatest prey has always been those Christians, those who believe in the Bible. They're the most naive and they're the most trusted. And it's a shame because they purposely take advantage of God's people. Because these are the only people they can try to convince out of the Bible. You don't see no conscious community people in the suburbs anywhere trying to convince someone about Hotep. Black, white, Chinese, or otherwise. They're in our neighborhoods trying to convince us not to follow the only book that gives us some level of resolution. And this is why I'm going into the Bible today, the law today. So that now we can have a clear distinction between the enemies of God and those who truly seeks to follow him. Why are the Bible laws so important? Well, Elder Lawyer.
Yes, sir.
Let's start at Exodus. So we have moral. Now, according to the Bible, there's 3 set of laws which are functional, a foundation, right? Moral laws. These are the laws which provide the understanding of morality in our original culture as Hebrews. The moral laws are mainly encompassed within the 10 Commandments, right? That means all of us will agree to interact with each other in our God according to these 10 laws. Right? That means next door, lawyer live next door, Elder Iraq live next door. We got another elder or brother or sister live next door. We can agree in our separate houses to interact with each other according to these same laws and not to bend them or disrespect them in our interactions one with another. Automatically, that makes us one. But if I have Habib, if he moves on the block and he come with pamphlets and he go to Iraq's house and say, have you heard about Allah? And have you heard about a new way of life from where I live at? Have you read the Quran? Even though Habib could mean well, not knowing anything else, that's a threat to our unity. Habib is only pushing what he learned back at home. All due respect to Habib. We're already unified under a law and a code, one amongst another, Habib. You cannot compel in anything. That's division. What you can do is put down what you're learning and get with the program. And that's the only way you're accepted. How can the minority come amongst us and influence us when we're not together? See? That's divide and conquer. You're bringing in another God. You're bringing in another book. Now, I'm not here to argue about which book is right or wrong. I'm here to say it's working for us. And because of this, we have a unified front on how we ought to interact and respect one another. And that makes the book good enough for us. See? That's the advantage of us coming on code with the law. Because if someone compelling something else, they're going to first start with pelling another God. No, thank you. If that God worked, you wouldn't need it amongst us. Okay? You would have been something in your country. You would have did it where you were. You here to divide us. See, with the law, folks, you know the enemy at the door. Because a friend would come to do what? They would come to get down with the what? The majority they are engaging with. They wouldn't be pelling anything. Civil law. Yeah, by the way, Allah 5 times a day. And I'll tell you what, you want to buy some incense and oils and some rugs? So is this what it takes to follow your God? Well, I'm just saying it's a way of life. And that way of life is Habib need cheese. Civil law. The civil law. These are the laws which upon the Hebrew judicial system is built. The civil law provides the basis of which the moral laws can be executed on a social level. Civil laws is how we interact with each other. Okay? Well, if you take something from me knowingly or unknowingly, well, there's a civil law where you must return this, tenfold or however the law says to make retribution, and we're cool after that. There's civil laws. Oh yeah, you a witch or a warlock? You want to be on the block selling drugs or harming our people? Well, guess what? You're here to kill off your own nation. And guess what? We're not going anywhere. If you're going to bring death, then guess what? You reap what you sow. You're trying to kill us all. You are an enemy of God, see? The civil law allow us to know the enemy, including those who are amongst us. Hey, brother, you want to open up your chakra? Like, hold up, Elder Lawyer, Elder Uriah. Is there anything in the law about opening up our chakra? Where's the chakra at in our law? Hey, brother, that chakra, that third eye got to be open. Well, I'm looking at the civil law, and a guy coming around with chakras, that's a warlock. Well, the Bible says a warlock is supposed to be what? Buried in rocks. Okay? He's supposed to be where he's standing, there's a pile of rocks there now, according to God's law. And he's actually waiting for that light to walk into the spiritual world. Warlocks coming to open up chakras is an enemy. See, you see how easy the law is? Right? Ceremonial laws. These are the laws which pertain to our ritualistic system. right? If there's certain sins that needed to be forgiven, we would have to bring certain sacrifices to the priest to have these sacrifices before our Lord, right? And through that, those sins are forgiven. Okay, also, there's what? There's gifts that you can give, right? You can bring a gift to the altar outside of it just to show your appreciation for the priesthood who's actually doing the service in your absence. We are at all times appreciating those who are doing the service of God and the God who made us. A constant reminder that what we deal with as a people is different than anyone else. That we have one God, one way of dealing with things. And therefore, if a God come peddling, I would say an East Indian, he come peddling and he'd ask you, hey, do you want to buy a Buddha? Would you like to buy a Buddha? This is a nice Buddha. Okay. Or Shiva. Would you like to buy Shiva? Listen, bruh. You rock. You see anything about Shiva here or Buddha here? See, this is how you can immediately know a threat. Well, I'm just trying to, just show you what. No, if it worked for you, you would be at home doing this. Why are you in our neighborhoods with this? See, a lot of us don't understand spiritual warfare. Spiritual warfare, you take advantage of God's people by first separating them through beliefs. Through beliefs. So if we have our moral, civil, dietary laws together and we're together with one another, there's no need to talk about what the enemy's doing for us because they cannot get in unless we allow them to. So I want to hear no excuse about what some white man is doing, what other people are doing, when we're not willing to sit down and say, you know what? Why don't we go to the traditions we broke that led to us being in such case? That's the real way to fix things. Exodus the 20th chapter, Elder Lawyer. Then we're going to take a small break and come right back.
Yes, sir. Exodus chapter 20, verse number 1. And God spake all these words, saying, I am the Lord thy God, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage.
I'm the Lord thy God. Folks, don't forget in the beginning, the first sin was Satan, and Satan is not the white man, or they're talking about the devil is the white man. And wrong answer. Get that out of the way. Another lie. Okay, you had a serpent in the beginning with Adam and Eve before Esau was born on the other side of the flood. Nonsense. Satan exists. Gods exist. Hell exists. Why do you think he said, why do you think the devil came to Adam and Eve and says, you shall be like gods, knowing good and evil? That's right, folks. The introduction to idolatry started then. The belief in other gods, listening to other gods outside of your God. So before they take us down physically, they must subdue us as a people, as the children of Israel, spiritually. They must disconnect us from our God. The law bonds us to our God. If they separate us from our God, the first level of warfare, now there's no hedge or protection from us, for us, from the invisible. So they have to take, because there's rules of engagement. Our God is the greater God. They cannot contend with him, so they must have us oppose him through disobedience. And then after that, the Gentile nations who serve their gods better than we want to serve ours can now have at it with us. It's quite that simple. There's a spiritual law first. And if we voluntarily agree to follow the gods or other religions and other traditions, by default, that's right. The Gentiles who serve their gods, who now we're following, become our masters. It's really easy, simple, right? Really simple. I need y'all to hold right real quick. We're going to Exodus 20. We're going to go through these laws, and then we're going to also go into the New Testament. All right? And we're going to bring this around full circle to why it's important, why the Bible laws are needed in such a time as this. One moment. The Bible. Is it hard to understand?
When it comes to reading the Bible, the first thing that comes to mind is the fact that this is the Word of God.
The seals have been broken, and the truth is here.
And when we go throughout the scriptures, when we go throughout extra biblical records, we find that the language that God employed, that He used to create the heavens and the earth, was the Hebrew language.
Christ said, I came for the lost sheep of the house of Israel. But yet no one, no religious leader, no religious church out there anywhere can now identify the 12 tribes of Israel. Can we? God is quite simple, but it seems as if man makes understanding Him hard.
What are those mysteries?
The truth of your book and the truth will make you free. The Hebrew and Bible Academy, you're invited. That's right, the Hebrew and Bible Academy. We're going into the secret mystery of the Essenes and the Ark of the Covenant tomorrow. Hope to see you there. If you're interested, go to historytimes.org. Give me 1 second. Elder Lawyer will be right back, and then we'll jump right into it. Why the laws of the Bible are so important in these times. So 1 moment. And yes, hit the like button. You don't want to miss the second half. Yep, hold tight. 1 second here. This is quite interesting. This is quite interesting. Check this out. Thank you for your patience. Check out what we're doing here. Hit the like button. Hit the like button. We're going in now. This is weird. Woo! Wait till y'all see this. I was going to hold this for the news tomorrow, but I got to just show this. There's other things I want to show in the news tomorrow, but they have to see this. They have to see this. This is big time. I really appreciate it, you're out. I truly do. I truly do. Here we go. All right. Thank you for your patience, but guess what? This particular class will be worth, this Sabbath service will be worth the time, the wait. Now, Elder Lawyer.
Yes, sir.
Real quick. All right, let me put the record back on. I appreciate it. Jumping right in. Jumping right in. Moral, civil, and dietary laws and ceremonial, which means we all would have laws pertaining to what? How we treat each other civilly, right? We would all have moral laws, right? On, as far as sexuality or whatever the case is, when it comes to the construct of a functional, traditional family according to God. Period. Dietary laws, which means we'll only eat the clean foods that's contained in the law. Period. Moral, civil, dietary, and ceremonial. When it comes to holy days, which was changed to holidays, we will only follow the holy days together that binds us as a nation. Passover, which has what? Traditional value. Celebrated when the Lord saved us from a captivity under the Egyptians. Right? Passover, Sabbath, and all the holy days contained in the book. Now, the whole neighborhood is on code, not just one another, but with our God. Now, Christians, even Muslims in our community, even non-believers in our community, would that not be beneficial? And here's even one better. It would be even better if it wasn't just our community, where the whole earth, whether you be an Israelite or not, that's right, walk with these laws one amongst each other without breaking them or violating the lines of our nations. I'm not going to do these things to you. You are not to do these things to me. We are to treat everyone according to the rules that was intended from the beginning. Would that be good or bad? So, and this is what, and that's some of what's missing when people talk about the Bible. When people discuss the Hebrews or the Israelites and all these others, what's lost in all of this is the fact that the earth is in total chaos for not following God's law. Elder, let's get Exodus. We're going to get through this real quick.
Yes, sir.
Exodus 20, right? And let's read on down. Let's read right through.
Exodus 20, verse number 1.
Come on.
And God spake all these words, saying, I am the Lord thy God, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage.
I am the God who brought you out of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. Out of the house of bondage. So you can't serve those gods that we seen in Egypt, folks. Already the Most High is separating us from the beliefs that comes through Egyptology. If he wanted us to follow that garbage, we would have still been in Egypt. And this was weird that our people make these sideways, backward religions that didn't exist anywhere before America. A lot of you don't know this, folks. This is funny too. Do y'all know that Egyptology and the whole idea of it came from white historians in the Western world? So they'll tell us that the Bible is a white man's book. And Egyptology was created by a white historian here in America. And listen, I've been to Egypt. Even the Egyptians will look at you like, no, that's some nonsense y'all came up with not knowing any better. Egyptians don't even deal with Egyptology like this. Let's read it. Come on.
Yes, sir. Also, if I can mention, people always like to place the Bible under slave master religion. Well, at one point, the Egyptians were our slave masters. So what does that say about the religion of the Egyptians?
Exactly. What they'll try to do is try to misdirect the conversation.
Right.
Instead of dealing with that, the reality is that there's history to show that Israelites, were in Egypt.
Right.
They'll try an argument and claim, well, really, there's no proof that it even happened.
Right.
According to what? History. And then you ask them where the history is, and the history that they're holding on to came from a white man. When really the history's there. They just moved the dates from the time it actually happened. Oh yeah, at the time of Ramesses, there's no time that showed the Israelites were on the Ramesses. Folks, the Bible never said that the Israelites were in captivity under Ramesses.
Right.
That was talking of a location that was called Ramesses later. So even the Bible never said that the captivity was under Ramesses. So you got all these Egyptian historians. I'm looking at Ramesses. There's no archaeological proof this has ever happened. It's impossible for them to be Israelites. Huh? The Bible never said that the Israelites was under captivity under Ramesses. Listen, we know the Pharaoh. The little dwarf dude that we were under captivity. Elder Iraq, give me his name real quick.
Bess.
Bess was one name for him, but he's another name in the Jasher. Adakim. That's right. Adakim was the Pharaoh when we were in captivity, and he was a dwarf, little short troll-looking demon by the name of the Egyptian Bess, B-E-S. It wasn't Ramesses. So they'll try to use Ramesses and say, oh, there ain't no history of Israelites anywhere during Ramesses. Because the Bible never said we were under Ramesses as a pharaoh. His name was Adakim. Under the Egyptian dwarf by the name of Bess, B-E-S. That's right. Take it, snip it, and give it to the conscious communities. They can come to some sense. Because they're not really looking at history. They're looking at anything that would defy the only book that can help them. They're just looking at something to argue with against the Bible. So you're not really in our communities trying to set up a foundation in which we can come together under. Your whole thing is to come against the book. Evil. And that's why I'm glad everyone is seeing them for what they are. And listen, Christians and others, they don't even need to look at these guys. These guys are utter nonsense. Let's read it, Elder Lawyer. No other God. Come on.
Yes, sir. And one more point. As we read through these, we have to ask, or we should ask the question, what's wrong with actually following any of these principles? Is there anything so evil against these principles that would prohibit anyone from desiring to follow these?
And that's a great point. What would be wrong with us coming on code with this? Not having no other God, where all of us are serving the same God, not the gods that we learned in captivity. What would be wrong with that? Now we can move y'all claim the white man is all this. We can move him out of the way on this. Because the white man ain't stopping us from serving the God we want to serve. The Bible says serve. We can move the Arabs out of the way. But I'm going to tell you, it seems that a lot of our people secretly want to be under the same people they're complaining about. Obviously. Because you're not giving no credit to yourself for anything. You just need to be under someone to complain about. See? You'd rather peddle an Arab religion. See? You'd rather peddle their religion. You'd rather peddle what East Indians or Asia, you would rather peddle their religion than to say, you know what? To be strong enough and courageous enough as a man to stand on your own with your God. Because what is wrong with just us all together believing in one God? Calling him, all saying the same name together. What's wrong with that? Read on.
Verse 3, thou shalt have no other gods before me. Thou shalt
have no other gods before me. So that means all idols. Every Egyptian god, every Catholic god, every East Indian god, every Buddha, all of them. No more. Period. What's wrong with that? And now, because we stand together in unity, we can now give or refuse the Gentiles' right of passage. Oh no, you can't set up a store around here. We got to know what you believe first. Oh no, you can't interact with us financially and have it where the money no longer circulate amongst us. Because we have to vet you first. We don't know you. And you have to operate with us for a long time before we do business. And that's one thing I can respect, even about Jewish people or whatever the case is. Their connections are those they grew up with and who they know who are operating with them in synagogues or family members. People are vetted. And even amongst them, if somebody if somebody break code, they'd be like, nah, I'm not even going to deal with you. I can respect that. We're the only people running around here just allowing strangers to come in not vetted. You know why? Because we were told that that was okay. I lived in other countries. It's not okay. I don't care how much money you have. Let a black man go over Egypt right now and try to set up shop and try to set up a business and see what happens. It wasn't until I traveled that I realized that that our people allow anything without vetting. They say, well, no, you can't set up a business over here unless you have a citizen of our country in partnership with you. This guy can be broke as a joke, without any experience, no education. But if you make money, automatically some citizen or somebody on the block is going to make money with you, or you cannot set up a business. And then what they'll do is they'll learn what you're doing, and then they will go in business with another Egyptian or another person and set up the same shop right next door to you. And you know what? The people of his country, his citizenry, who is his family, will not patronize your business. I've seen it. They'll steal your business and then tell you, hey, that's just the way it is. They'll steal your ideas. You know why they can do it? Because they all, when that music comes on 5 times a day, they're all looking at the ground and doing this together. That's why. That's why they can do that. Because they have a core belief system together. Only our people are like this, folks. And I'm telling you, the law is the answer. Because now we can vet you spiritually first. Elder Lloyd, you got something?
No, sir.
See, I'm tired of just sitting there pointing fingers and talking about what's all bad and people doing this to us and people doing that to us. When the Most High is saying, well, listen, why don't y'all just get on code and it'll stop everything? Why don't y'all just get on code? They can't stop us from getting on code with one another. They can't stop us from us getting together and saying, you know what? Here's the name of God. We're all going to call that name of God together. Anybody else, we must vet them spiritually first. What church did you go to? What mosque did you go to? What country did you come from? You cannot do business amongst us serving another God. A matter of fact, that's right. Any money you have, you must invest in what we're doing first. And we'll think about giving you a piece for being here. Talking about a land of opportunity. No, it's a land of opportunists who are preying on our people who are the children of Israel and don't know any better. Yeah, it is a land of opportunity. But we're the people they're getting the opportunity on. Finish reading.
Verse 4. Thou shalt not make...
And listen. And another thing. Let me make this clear, though. I'm not talking about anything that we're not already right now have practiced and are putting in place. I'm not waiting for nobody to all come together on Kumbaya. I'm just letting you know there's a benefit of it. We started GOCC Network. Okay? I'm going to show you what happens when you do that. Hold this other way. 1 second. Let me go over here real quick. Thank you, Elder Lloyd.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to show you what happened when you don't just talk about it. We at Tabernacles, right? And we got our little camp up all there. We got the vendors things all up. And here's a family who harvests their own bees, honey, from people in the church. Okay, honey. Some of the best honey I've ever tasted. And not only that, it's so many medicinal uses. And guess what? This jar was harvested by the hands of the children of God. And before I buy any more honey anywhere, this is where I'm going. Auntie B jelly, Concord grape jelly, made by a daughter of Zion. Different flavors right here. And guess what? That's the tip of the iceberg. Natural. So what we're talking about works. I don't got to worry about an East Indian or an Asian person praying demons into our products and driving our community crazy, not realizing we're under spiritual attack. And that's why I tell you in 2nd Esdras that while being idle, eating things sacrificed to idols. You wonder why we're poisoned, diabetes, dying, because who's feeding us? That's where the dietary law come in at. See? We're trusting the same people who are replacing and destroying us, not realizing the answer is to get on code according to God's word. So I don't want to hear about somebody talking about getting on code, double speaking, but on the other side, they're not talking about the book that was placed here to align us on code with one another. And being black isn't enough.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Because many usurpers look just like us. Okay? Many usurpers looks just like us who are undermining any progress that we would do as a people. Let's read it, Elder Lloyd.
Yes, sir. Exodus 20, verse number 4. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above.
Right there. Folks, right there, no other race of people can come into your community and build a religious temple. Right there. Right there. Nah, you can't build no temple from where you from in our neighborhoods. Go home with that. Because who are the people you proselytizing to? What happens if I believe in God and I believe in one way of life and my child is serving according to the traditions of the law and they end up running into you around the corner? And they run into you around the corner. Now my son and daughter is starting to dress different, look different, question what I'm teaching in my home. And this is what we've allowed as a people, folks. And guess what, brethren? Brothers, we cannot blame the sisters for this. We cannot blame the sisters for this because we're the ones running around in all these different religions and all that, confused in our community, allowing usurpers in the other nations to come in and take advantage of us. Only to complain on the other side that it's the white man. Nehemiah didn't allow this. You had other Gentiles who try to come on the Sabbath and try to sell idols on the Sabbath. And Nehemiah said, man, if you don't get up out of here, we're going to lay hands on you. See? Brothers, we can't blame the sisters for this. Not if you are an Egyptologist, not if you are a Christian, you are a Muslim, you are a Buddhist, you are this and you are that, and all sitting together talking about, well, why can't we come together? The white man. You can't blame nobody for this. If the men aren't united, we can't expect the women and the children to follow suit because there's no unified front or tradition to give them. Let's go down the line.
Yes, sir. Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them. In fact, the rest of verse 4.
Come on.
Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above.
Any graven image. And you got people running around simple as the days old in full Egyptian gear, walking down the street to a corner store in a supermarket with a hotep suit on. Ridiculous. You talking about a lost people. I'm like, you can't make graven images. You can't even make yourself an image or an idol. Read on. And I know what it is. Sometimes our people just want to stand out. Be different. No. The individualism is what got us here. We must unite under one God. No idolatry. Read.
Or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth.
Come on.
Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, nor serve them, for I, the Lord thy God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children, unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me.
Come on.
And showing mercy unto thousands.
So here it is. If we don't get unified under one God, what happens? It becomes a generational curse. You have some people teaching erroneously that this is talking about reincarnation. Listen, just ignore that crap. This ain't talking about no reincarnation. It's talking about if you sin against and defy your God, a generational curse falls on the offspring. A generation is 50 years. 3 or 4 generations, it'll take 200 years for us to recover by not doing it right now. So, because what? We begin to teach this behavior and our children grow to believe dysfunction or operating unlawful is normal. Remember when I said the law gives us the function, the foundation, which is how to operate, to function on earth as God intended? So if we begin to do God's law, go against the law, the children who honor and respect their mother and father will do it to try to gain their father and mother's honor. Well, my mother and father does it. And then it happens one generation, another generation, and then we get what we got. That's what that's talking about. The 3rd or 4th generation. That means the curse becomes perpetual. We begin to forget that we were the people of law. Read on.
In showing, verse 6, and showing mercy unto thousands of them that love me and keep my commandments.
And show what?
And showing mercy unto thousands of them that love me.
And he showed mercy to thousands of our people who love him by doing what?
And keep my commandments.
And keep my commandments. Not only are we on code with one another, we're all on code together, unified with one God. I wish you would go into China and try to set up a hotep shop. You show me the example of a Chinese Dr. York. I wish they would take that stuff over there in China and other areas. Why, this guy built pyramids and everything over in Atlanta. Why didn't you go to Egypt with that? Because you can only peddle confusion amongst our people. That's what they will allow. That's why. Read on.
Yes, sir. Verse number 7. Thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain, for the Lord will not hold him guiltless that taketh his name in vain.
Come on.
Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days.
taking the Lord's name in vain is like tempting the Most High. Doing things against the law and think no consequences is coming. Read.
Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy.
Remember the what?
Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy.
Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. Remember the Sabbath day to what?
To keep it holy.
To keep it holy. Read.
6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God.
The seventh day is what? A sign between mankind and God. The Sabbath is the holy day, not Sunday, not Friday like the Muslims, not Sunday like the pagan Christians. And it amazes me how it's right here in the 10 Commandments, and you got the Christians saying, well, we don't got to follow the law, just the 10. The Sabbath is one of the 10. Mm-hmm. Then they'll come with something very, very ignorant. Well, how do we know that they didn't switch Saturday to Sunday? That's the blind leading the blind. Friday sundown to Saturday sundown is 7. That's the 7th day. Period. And I thank the Most High. Elder Lawyer, we made the announcement the other day that during Tabernacles, a brother Aaron in Atlanta, right? In Atlanta,
Yes,
Bible?
sir. Yes, sir.
He had the whole church out at Tabernacles, converted a whole church who are now following the truth that this church is teaching. They were all out doing tabernacles in front of a church. The whole church converted. So we're not just talking about something, brothers and sisters. The Most High is working. We're not waiting for the earth to get on cold. What we're doing is, according to Christ, is setting a foundation, and those who would be spared from the storm that's coming will make it through. Read on.
Verse number 10. But the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God. In it thou shalt not do any work, thou, nor thy son, nor thy daughter, nor thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gates. For in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, the sea, and all that in them is, and rested the 7th day.
So it's clear the importance that God said coming out of Egypt of the children of Israel following the Sabbath. You know why we can't get on one accord? We can't even get together and worship our God like we once did. All together. We can't. We study arguing about, well, who's right, who's wrong. It's like this. The Gentiles lied to us. So let's put them to the side and come together and say, let's follow the 10. Let's all get together. No more Sunday worship. No more Friday worship. No more following Arabs. No more following Esau or any other nation. Come back to the book and do this together. If not just for the sake of unification. Let's learn of this God that have allowed this for our disobedience. And by doing so, break the generational curse. Come on. Let's read. Let's go down to all of it.
Yes, sir. Verse number 12.
Come on.
Honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be long upon the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee.
Honor thy father and thy mother under the traditions and law given. That's how you honor your father and mother. You're continuing the traditions that was handed down from our forefathers. If anybody begins to operate on the outside of this, we're not going to let society guilt us into accepting children who are disobedient. It's upon the children to honor the parent in respect of how they were raised. You are not, let me tell you, we are not to allow, as parents, children to get broke outside of our homes to come in with demons on them, only to have society say, you should accept it. That's dishonorable. You dishonor my God in my house, kick rocks. You're not dragging your demons into my house. You should show honor to the father and mother who brought you forth, who have trained you and raised you, and now you're going to come in the house with a different ideology, some wickedness. Kick rocks. But society, they'll break your children and then have these stories of the child crying on Dr. Phil or one of these other shows saying, well, I love my parents, but they won't accept my lifestyle. My father haven't spoken to me in months because you've dishonored him, boy. Get it together. You are a man. You are a boy. Okay? They'll switch up their sex and all types of stuff and then put the guilt on the family for not accepting it. Be like, no. We're not playing that game no more. Go with the devil who turned you. See? Finish reading.
Verse 13. Thou shalt not kill.
Thou shalt not kill. Now imagine if this was a code amongst our people. A matter of fact, it's the reverse. It's promoted in our community to some degree to kill each other because why? The majority of the time, no one cares anyway. We've been so devalued as a people that we can lose life and accept it callously as if every life isn't precious. That's how low we've devalued ourselves, especially the black man. A black man can die in the community without an investigation and no one would care. And then we got another thing going on. We can have someone get killed in our community, know who the killer is and won't say nothing. Knowing that there's no consequences for killing your own. That's the curse of not being on code with God's law. And even in the law, it says we'll be thrown out as dung. That's that's waste out of a person. That's how much we're worth because we don't value each other anymore. And you cannot value each other without a value system. That's the importance of the law. Read on.
Thou shalt not commit adultery.
Thou shalt not commit adultery. Adultery is a man dealing with another man's woman. Thou cannot, there's too many people out here. This is what stops war. Okay, we have respect and boundary for our fellow man, our brother's house. Read.
Thou shalt not steal.
Thou shalt not steal. Read.
Thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor.
And boy, you know why the Most High put this law in. How many times we'll see brothers and sisters, they'll put out something, they'll lie with a straight face. Just only to have someone view someone negatively because what? They don't like the person. Oh yeah, I spoke to him yesterday. And you can say what you want, but I'll tell you this. I know the real tea. I know the straight lying. Bearing false witness because what? They're envious. And guess what? Jealousy and envy can drive someone to bear false witness because they don't want anyone getting respected they don't like, that they hate. So they have to try to knock you down, knock people down pegs by lying on them. Bearing false witness. Knowing that God is listening, but they don't care because they're devils anyway. Read on.
Verse 17. Thou shalt not covet that which is thy neighbor's, or thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's house, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife, nor his manservant, nor his maidservant, nor his ox, nor his donkey.
Thou shalt not covet what belongs to someone else. Work and get it yourself. They'd be like, no, I want what belongs to him or her. The covetous nature that leads to stealing what belongs to other people. And then you got people who come into our community to steal souls. Oh, you know the Bible is tampered with, right? You know the Bible is a white man's book, right? No, listen, don't try to attack our book. Show us the way. What is your answer to fix our people without attacking something? And you know what? They look at you like, only thing I learned to do coming up was to attack the book. Actually learning how to organize and get our people together on one accord really isn't anything within our vocation. We was taught just to confuse people who believe in the book so that we can hustle them. I'll have to get back with you on the organizational side. And on top of that, when we're being seen, we can all holler, the white man is doing this so that now, through smoke, I get away. Well, let's be unified with what the white man did. When you're the one in the community confusing people and destroying our people inwardly. Right? These are thieves. And that's why Christ said, if you come in, he's the door. That means if you don't believe in Christ, you are a what? That's right. A thief and a robber. Trying to come in another door. That's a thief. That's why I don't trust them guys that deal with any of, I don't care how intelligent or what school they went to. If you don't believe in God and Christ, we cannot sit down about nothing because you'll be the first one to turn and cause some chaos that will harm everyone. Read.
It says, nor his donkey, nor anything that is thy neighbor's.
Come on.
And all the people saw the thunderings and the lightnings and the noise of the trumpet and the mountain smoking. And when the people saw it, they removed and stood afar off.
Now, I'm going to show you some importance, before we end this, an important part of understanding the law. Right? There should never be a political position in the earth where legislation is dictated based on sexuality. Where a group can become a group strictly based on sexual preference. And why am I going there? Like I said the other day, people are going to do what they want. But the Bible in of itself let us know exactly what to do when it comes to interaction. Okay? Interaction that leads to life. I'm going to show you what happens when we don't set a standard amongst our people according to God's law when it comes to intimacy, physical connection. Elder Lawyer, let's deal with some of the sexual sins according to the Bible. And then we're going to end it with Romans, where Paul says he knew not law. He knew not sin, but through the law.
Yes, sir.
I need you to now get real quick, Elder Lawyer. Leviticus 20 and 10.
Leviticus 20, verse number 10.
Here's the judgment of the Bible according to the Bible when it says, thou shalt not commit adultery. Read.
Leviticus 20,
Did we
verse
go
10.
through all of the 10?
Yes, sir.
Okay, let's read it.
Leviticus 20, verse 10. And the man that committeth adultery with another man's wife,
With another man's wife, the definition of adultery,
even he that committeth adultery with his neighbor's wife, the adulterer and the adulteress,
the man and the woman caught in the act,
shall surely be put to death.
shall surely be put to death. Now, that was under the old Levitical law. Now, of course, that law cannot be executed in this time because the land of the law of the land rules. And there's no such law like that in Western world. But it's just showing you in of itself God's law and how the Most High God personally feel about us violating our own neighbors, where there's no boundary, when there's enough people in the earth for everyone who wants to be right. There's no need in thinking like, yeah, sitting there giving one of your friends wife or someone he's courting googly eyes. Oh yeah, man, where you meet her at? Yeah, she's all right. Okay, bro. Here's your coat. Okay. What you got to do is, at the second light, make a right, and the expressway is right there. Mm-hmm. Right? So that's adultery. We live in a world that would say it's okay to violate someone else's home. I need y'all to really think about that. To violate someone else's home because it's socially accepted now. Mm-hmm. And see, a lot of these guys, I hate to keep stomping down because they need to be stomped down on the conscious community. But this is why they are allowed to get away with what they get away with. Because they start off with totally dismissing the only book that can point their dishonorable actions out. More. Let's get real quick a few more. Let's get Leviticus 18.
Yes, sir.
And let's get Leviticus 20, the other one here. You lie with mankind. Let's get it. Mm-hmm. Lie with mankind if you lie with a woman. Let's get it.
Leviticus 20, verse 13.
Read.
If any man also lie with mankind.
So if a man lie with mankind, that means this is a man and he is feeling another man like contrary to how God intended relationships from the beginning. And this is what I'm talking about when I say a functional foundation. A functional foundation. The Bible says if a man lies with mankind, like he's supposed to lie with a woman, the function that was intended from the beginning. Read.
As he lieth with a woman.
Come on.
Both of them have committed an abomination.
An abomination is an act against God. The Most High didn't set up intimacy for that. He set up intimacy when he said, man, woman, come together, be fruitful and multiply, and bring forth nations. Now, what a man or woman would like to do with their personal bodies, that's on them. But what I'm talking about is what? As you can see, why are the Bible laws so important in these times? We can't expect life to go on righteously, a functional world in a world that accepts dysfunction on every level. We're the heroes of thieves. Where you would have countries who would celebrate the thievery and the robbery of Bonnie and Clyde and all this other stuff. See? So what we're showing you why the laws are so important. Especially for us, because being a people without any direction, without an heritage, we cleave to whatever society would accept and become the face of it. And and by doing so, we make our God, who put us in these conditions for disobedience, angrier and angrier. If you lie with mankind as you lie with a woman, read.
Both of them have committed an abomination.
That's an abomination according to God. Now, this is not to stop someone from doing what they're doing, because people are going to do what they want to do. But understand, there's a judgment for this, for allowing, not just for it being done, a society that continually allow the earth to erode into further darkness. It's not just a gauge on the activity they're doing sexually. It's a gauge on society as a whole, who would accept all of these broken laws and hope for the better. And still in our thwarted minds, hoping that things become better down the line. It can only get worse. The example I can give you here, look at your screens. The example I can give you here. I'll tackle this more tomorrow. What are you looking at here? What are you looking at here? Okay. This is from the legal the Cornell Law School breaks down a law. 29 CFR 1607.17 policy, a statement on affirmative action. Now, affirmative action was something put in place for equal opportunity employment for black people. Black people only, coming out of the civil rights movement. That's what the equal opportunity employment was established in Congress in 1972 for. Black people who were suffering redlining, Jim Crow, children of slavery. It was specifically to try to even the playing field for our people who came out of slavery. It wasn't for women, and it wasn't for anything else. Right? The face of those who was able to achieve equal opportunity or affirmative action were what? Traditional, functional families. The face of those who died to allow civil rights to happen were traditional, Bible-believing families in number, who, even though you had Malcolm, Betty Shabazz and all that, no. But the majority of those who changed everything for the embedment of our people here in America were black Christians who held to traditional values. And understood those laws. But look what we have here. Look what happened. I'm going to show you what happened now. I'm going to show you the importance of having law and standing on God and our values first, or even what we died for. Keep in mind, civil rights was also in exchange for the brothers who died in the Vietnam War and had nothing to come back to. Men died for these rights. Our brothers. And look look who have access to these rights now. Let's read it. Look at it. That same law. Look. The Supreme Court's recent decision on workplace protections for the letter people has far-reaching implications. Now, what is it talking about, folks? Well, what it's talking about is what? On June 15th, 2020, the Supreme Court issued, matter of fact, let me look at this. The Supreme Court issued a landmark 6-3 decision affirming that the prohibition on sex discrimination in titles, there you go, 7 of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 extends to discrimination based on sexual orientation, and gender identity. You see what happens when you're not unified and stand on something as a people with your God, morally and otherwise? See what happens? So now civil rights, bye-bye. It doesn't matter if our people died in war to get us an opportunity. Because we don't hold a moral line and are not one under our God, while we're looking the other way fighting against each other, they're taking away everything. Everything, even what we died for. And these people that are benefiting from it was once on the oppressor side. Because now they're able to redefine that, even sexual orientation, as what? You got it. A minority, a group. This is what happens, folks, when we don't come on one accord. We sit back and allow these things to be taken. The little things we have left is over. Because now you can have a person. And look at this example. You can have a person who comes from a long line of slave owners who are already rich, men who can now identify as one of those people in the group and have access to take everything away our forefathers died for in the country. Even though affirmative action was made because their forefathers destroyed us. So now I can say that, well, how do I get access to their money? We're not teaching these people how to get their money. Oh, I can just put on a pair of poom shorts and go down there and do this and do that. And just, even if I'm not that way, and I can just say I'm this way and now take the civil rights money right from up under them. So who cares if my father and my great-grandfather, had plantations, had many slaves and all that? Who cares if I'm already rich from me pillaging and destroying these people? The money's there, and the only thing I have to do is say that I want a separate what? Sexual preference. And by that, get access to what belongs to them. And see, and this is what happens, brothers and sisters. This is what happens Now, and there's nothing we can change it because they just found a way to there's nothing left for us, folks. There's not going to be no new programs that can help us. None of that. Because when you hear this, going all the way up to November, you're going to hear black and brown people. And what are they going to be talking about? The people who have always, that's right, usurped and took us over already. Through commerce first, by allowing them to come in our neighborhoods with different gods and set up shop amongst us. They're finishing off now what they started after they seen the threat of us financially benefiting from the money that was allocated only to our families through civil rights. It's all gone now. This is spiritual warfare. Last but not least, Elder Lloyd, let's go to Romans.
Yes, sir. Romans 1.
Let's go where we wouldn't know the law.
Yes, sir.
We wouldn't know what sin is if it wasn't for the law.
Yes, sir. Romans 7, verse 7.
We're in Romans, the 7th chapter now. Matter of fact, go to Romans 6 and 1.
Romans 6, verse number 1.
Read.
What shall we say then? Shall we continue in sin that grace may abound?
What shall we say then, Christians? Shall we what?
Continue in sin
Shall we continue in sin
that grace may abound?
that grace may abound? Have we replaced the laws of God with grace now? Have we now taught others and our children that it doesn't matter what we do, through Christ's blood we're covered, even if we sin intentionally? You want to see why our people are under such peril and destruction right now? Because by teaching that doctrine through the Christian church, that's right, we've taught lawlessness and chaos to the generations and making our people believe that they are excused because Christ died for us. Just because Christ died doesn't mean we are supposed to sin intentionally. Shall we what? Read it again.
What shall we say then? Shall we continue in sin that grace may abound?
Should we continue in sin that grace may abound? Have grace replace the law now? Read.
God forbid.
Paul said no. Read.
How shall we that are dead to sin live any longer therein?
If we're dead to sin now, that means Christ now through his death have forgiven us our sins, us breaking the law. How can we now go back like a dog to his own vomit? Why did Christ die if we're going to continue to do what's wrong against God's law? See, this is why our neighborhoods in this world is doomed for judgment. If we upheld the law, we would now set our relationships, even policy amongst our people, to know who to not let amongst us. So politically and otherwise, they could not be able to come in and get anything our forefathers died for, because we can look at the law and say, no, you don't get that. You don't get that. I don't care what you identify as, because we have a moral code connected to our law, regardless of what y'all talking about. Unless you can show that your forefathers suffered with us, you get nothing. I don't care what your preference is out here. But they can continually take advantage of us because Christians have dropped the ball. At one time, even though Christianity is pagan, there was still some moral standards that wouldn't allow others to come in and circumvent and take them over. And because you use grace as the law, you allow the evildoers, the sinners, to take over now under the guise of grace. Well, you can't judge me, so I'm coming in to totally tear your church apart. I'm coming in and I'm checking out your sons. I'm checking out your daughters. And you have to work with me because I'm still struggling under grace. But under this grace, I'm cutting loose up in here. That's what happens, folks, when you replace the law with grace. They'll sit back and see what seems to be functional families operating out of order. And they're not going to do anything to stop it. I'm talking about the evildoers. Even the intersectionalists. They're not going to do anything about it because what they're going to do is allow the evil to continue, only to come back and say, you see what they're doing. How dare you say something about what we're talking about and what we prefer. So they allow the chaos to go on so that they can hide under that, because in the churches, there's no law. And eventually, the Most High judges. So you cannot replace the law with grace. Because what? There's no foundation the church can stand on now. Now you can no longer set standards according to God's law. Period. So it will cease to be a place of judgment. And it will become more so a place for gathering or recreational use, including sex. It'll be a meeting ground. It'll be no different. It's only what? It's really the club on Sundays. Dressed up. Right? Last but not least, Elder Lawyer, let's go where Paul says he didn't know sin unless he knew the law. Let's read it.
Romans 7, verse 7.
Come on.
What shall we say then?
What shall we say then?
Is the law sin?
Is the law sin? Because that's what Christians would have us believe. Is the law wrong?
God forbid.
Because what they'll do, well, no man can keep the law. That's what they'll say. No man can keep the law. Can a man or a woman choose not to commit adultery? That's in the law. Can a man or woman choose not to steal? Can a man or woman choose not to serve any other God outside of the God who made us? So when you hear these people say, well, no one can follow the law, they want to continue to cause the chaos that have led our people into chattel slavery and confusion and dysfunction. They're saying that they're not even going to attempt and try it. When nothing else, we've tried everything else. And look at our condition. Christian churches are saying we're not even going to attempt to try it. Oh, nobody can follow the law. And why the Romans are telling us this, you know why? Because they're not held to it. The laws weren't given to our oppressors. It wasn't given to the governments of this earth. So by them breaking the law, it's not suffering the same consequences. They're going to rule regardless. So they'll teach us, well, we're not under the law. Knowing that if our people continue to sin, that's right, folks. It gives the Gentiles access to keep us as their servants. Because the law put us on code, and through the law, we begin to recognize them. Oh, no, you can't bring Buddha in our neighborhood. No, you can't do that. No, you can't bring Allah around here. Because based on the biblical history, your people killed our people. And y'all came bearing your gods first. See? Read on, Elder Lawyer.
What shall we say then? Is the law sin?
Is the law sin? See, but there's another thing. They'll tell us we can't follow our laws in the Bible, God's laws, but penalize you for breaking the laws of the land. You run a stoplight. As soon as you see that red light, I don't see no Christian saying the law is done away with. You're not under grace when it comes to Caesar's laws. But soon as it come time to get on code to make our people right and say we're going to unite under a law, we can't do that. You fear Caesar more than God. And that's why the Most High is tearing down your temples. Read on.
God forbid. Nay, I had not known sin but by the law.
Paul says, even though we're under grace, because they want to run with Paul, he says, don't try to do away with the law. Because I would not have known what?
Sin, but by the law.
I would not have known what sin looked like if I didn't have a functional foundation given to our forefathers called the law. The only way to know what's wrong is that you have to first know what's right. See? Now I can point to sin. I can look at a drug dealer and say, no, he's not my cousin. He's a warlock who so happened to be my cousin. He's a drug dealer. I could look at a woman doing tarot cards and say, well, guess what? That's no longer my cousin. That's a witch who so happened to be my cousin. See? Right? If I see someone in the conscious community saying, yeah, give me this and give me that, but nothing is producing, oh yeah, that's not the guy that just used to live about 3 blocks away from me who grew up going to the same school as me in Philadelphia. No, he's not, he's not just that guy. He's a thief. He's a thief that grew up around the corner from me. See? See, but the powers that be, including the government structure, they rule through chaos. They know what we're saying is correct. And the last thing they want us to do is to begin to follow God's law together. See? Because with thieves, I don't care how intellectual you are. You must repent and make amends before we can hear what your intellectual prowess is concerning the embetterment of our people. And the agreement is the law first, not your opinion. See? That's the value. That's the importance of the law. It puts us on code and it let us know what people shouldn't be in the conversation when it comes to protecting ourselves, guiding the children of Israel, our people, out of chaos into freedom. Because the same lawlessness we exercise here in our communities, it doesn't matter where we are. Without God's law, we'll destroy each other. And it doesn't matter geography. The Most High would very well allow our people to fall with the evil that's going on right now, than to allow us to continue in this earth without some code amongst each other when the house is on fire. And if we can't come together now after what's going on, what hope is it for us? So he's bringing judgment, storms, earthquakes, destruction. And you know what? We're not waiting for everyone to get on code. It's in our power to do what we can control amongst ourselves. Because only a remnant will make it, and the lawless will be judged. So the Most High have already put Christian churches and other temples on notice. So they're past that because they see we recognize them now. So they move past the religion con game, and I'm speaking about these Gentile nations. And they've moved more so into science to attack us that way now. And the Most High is going to allow them to continue to do it because we continually participate in it and won't come to the realization that we're the children of Israel, God's chosen people, under attack. And how would they continue to attack us? They have to do things that would have us put our guard down. Brother, Christ love you. I love you as a brother and sister in Christ. The law is done away with. We're no longer under the law, my brother. We're under grace. Now, mind you, folks, Esau tells us in Genesis 25 is a cunning hunter. The best way a hunter can operate is to have you off yourself. You're not under the law. We're under grace, my brother. So be under grace and allow us to continue to stomp you out for breaking your God's law. We know who you are, Jacob. We understand who you are, and we love you. And guess what? You are our brother in Christ. Don't follow that bad law that shields me against stomping you out. You're under God's grace. See? Just go ahead and sell drugs. Go ahead and kill one another. Somebody's wife that got a nice body, guess what? She wants you too. Christ gives you grace, young man. And when it's done, guess what? My foot will be all up in you, throwing you in jail. And guess what? That's right. You may have the bottom bunk if you're able to fight for it. You're under grace. Christianity has been the greatest trick on our people. I like Christ and Christ's mission and the Christianity before the Romans overtook it. It's life. That's what we're practicing. That's what we are instilling in this earth again. See? So we dropping it on you. Finish reading that last piece of the Lord.
Yes, sir. What shall we say then? Is the law sin?
Is the law sin? Because Christians would have us believe following God's law is sin. Is the law wrong? Read.
God forbid.
No. Read.
Nay, I had not known sin but by the law.
Paul says he would not have known what sin looked like unless he knew the laws of the Old Testament. He knew the function that was set up under God to identify dysfunction. Dysfunction only means, if you translate it in the Bible, people living under a generational curse, living under lawlessness, being unlawful. Read on.
For I had not known lust, except the law had said.
Hold up, read it.
For I had not known lust.
Paul would not have known what lust is.
Except the law had said, thou shalt not covet.
Unless the law, the 10 Commandments says, thou shalt not covet. A desire to do something that you know is wrong is the spirit of covetousness. Now, Paul was able to identify the demon that was trying to take him and move him against what's right. See? He would not have known what lust was if the law didn't give him a functional foundation to point to. So now when we teach the 10 Commandments, it's not just giving it, putting on your wall and have you read it. Now you understand when you have a desire to do something that's against God's law, that's the spirit of covet. You're coveting. You're being moved by another spirit to defy the God who made us. Read.
But sin taken occasion by the commandment.
But sin taken what?
Occasion
by the commandment. Why? What it says, why sin taken occasion by the commandment? And this is where Christians get confused at. This is not talking about the commandments in the Bible. This is talking about the commandment that's in us through our flesh that came through the sin of Adam and Eve. A malignant sin in us that drives us to fulfill our flesh over what's right. It's a new commandment in us that came through sin. But the laws give us knowledge even of that sinful nature that would have us just ignore God to fulfill our own carnal lusts. The law can only do that. See? Read on.
But sin taking occasion by the commandment wrought in me all manner of concupiscence.
All manner of concupiscence, what you would call certain inordinate sexual behavior that's out there. Read.
For without the law, sin was dead.
Without the law, sin was dead. What did that mean? Without the law, we didn't know that these desires we grew up with were wrong. When we thought we were Christians and didn't know the law and all that, we just thought that we were just doing, what everyone else was doing. See? We didn't know that our actions and growing up and what we seen our aunt and uncle doing and what we seen our family doing, we didn't know that was sin. See? We didn't know it. Read.
For I was alive without the law once.
He was alive without the law once.
But when the commandment came, sin revived, and
when
I
the
died.
law came, sin revived, and I died. So now, the knowledge of sin is killing who he once was, being controlled through lust. Because now he can identify even the sin within himself. Folks, that's the importance of the law. It's not just about putting on fringes, and that's good. I have fringes. It's not about just walking in the culture of an Israelite, moral, civil, dietary. All that's important. But the most important part of the law is being able to identify the sin in you. That's the commandment of the law that's done away with. Doing away with what we desire and make a conscious choice to do what's right. That's the law that's against us, not the laws contained in the book. With that, I can go on for hours, but I have to get prepared for tomorrow, the Essenes lesson. Thank you for what you sent.
Yes, sir.
It falls right in line with what I'm going to do with the Dead Sea Scrolls tomorrow.
Yes, sir.
And I hope we understand today the importance of what the Bible laws and why it's needed for our people in these times. And you know what, brothers and sisters? This is not about trying to convince others to do it, right? It's about us, those who can see this, doing what we can to get on code with the Most High first. And by doing so, it set the path for others to follow.
That's right.
So am I waiting for the conscious community, Israelites, Muslims, and Christians to all come to some kumbaya moment for the survival of our nation? No, I'm not waiting for that. That will never happen. What we're doing is setting a standard that was put in place before the Romans came. Christ's ministry and his doctrine, which will do what? It will withstand the test of time and will do what? Weather any and every storm. All the way until Christ's kingdom. Okay, you can get with this or you can get with that. Okay? The truth has been told. It's up to you to apply it, not wait for something to change. You are the change. We are the change. With that, see you tomorrow in our Hebrew and Bible Academy with our lesson, The Mysteries of the Essenes. Who are they? The Levites. And we're going to also break down the priesthood and identify the current location for the Ark of the Covenant. With that, may the Most High be with you. Stay prayed up, sin not, and keep in mind that the Most High is calling back Israel. Shalom. HistoryTimes.org. Get in that academy.
The East is where we're from. 12 tribes of Israel.
Oh yeah.
In 721 BC, the Assyrian king, he took us down, we fell. With the great escape we went through the Euphrates. The Lord held the water still. To a land where no mankind dwelt, we went. The 12 tribes of Israel. That's who we be. Manasseh, the Cubans, Ephraim from Puerto Rico, Naphtali from the Isles of Hawaii. The Lord is calling back Israel. Zebulon from Panama, Gad, the North American Indians, Simeon, the Dominicans. Our highest gathering Israel. The Arabs and Africans told us.
At gunpoint.
Together our wives and children then sold us. In the belly of these great ships we traveled in fear. By the rivers of Babylon we found our brothers here. A high gatherer. Asher in Colombia. Reuben from Australia. Issachar, the Mexicans. A highest gathering Israel. Judah, the Negroes. Benjamin, the West Indians. Levi, the Haitians. A highest gathering Israel. Reuben from Australia, Issachar, the Mexicans. That's who we be. Judah, the Negroes, Benjamin, the West Indians, Levi, the Haitians, Manasseh, the Cubans, Ephraim from Puerto Rico, Naphtali from the Isles of Hawaii. The Lord is calling back Israel.